Whatever happens is going to be a minor issue, a blip in life. This stuff happens all the time, aggravating as it is. I don't want you guys to get shorted on your tour, so I'm going to keep talking a little bit, if I might, about Chicago. A little bit about our history. I know you guys are not too far from now, but Chicago was actually created in Ohio at the Battle of Fallen Timbers. Who's heard about the Battle of Fallen Timbers? What happened at the Battle of Fallen Timbers? Go ahead, say it. The what? The Indians were defeated by Mad Anthony Wayne, right? And they went and had a peace talk at a place where a tornado had just knocked a bunch of trees down, which is why they called it the place of fallen timbers. At that moment, the Indians, the Potawatomi, Kickapoo, Sauk, Fox, Miami, all agreed to sell some land to the new government, which at this time was the Northwest Territories of the United States. The Northwest Territories, of what we are part of, was the first addition to the United States 13 states. Treaty of Greenville. So this Treaty of Greenville at the Fallen Timbers site literally gave Chicago its start. And the Indians sold a 6-mile square area at the site of Chicago's river and the lakefront, and that was the beginning of Chicago. And then in 1803, the federal government decided to put a fort here called Fort Dearborn. And Fort Dearborn stood here from 1803 until it was burned down during the War of 1812 with the English. And if you remember, in 1812, the English came back through Canada, France. They got the Indians to work, and they tried to reclaim their land for England that they had lost during the Revolutionary War, but it didn't work. We beat it, and we put the English back in their place. And the English and the Americas have been at peace since 1814 at the Treaty of Ghent that was signed after that 2-year war, 1812 through 1814. So Chicago was a part of the Indian Wars, and Chicago stood here for a while. Chicago literally had no start. It was a fort, and there was no one here. But then somewhere along in the 1830s, they decided to build the canal, and the canal was completed between 1836 and 1848. And if you remember your history, what was going around in the world, you had canals everywhere. Canals is the way they moved stuff until the 1830s and 1840s. And canals, the Erie Canal, you had canals in Ohio, you had canals all over the country. And Chicago started its canal, but really, all the canals were eclipsed almost immediately by the invention of one thing. What was the most important invention of the Industrial Age?
The steamboat?
Steam.
Boat.
Steam engine. Put on boats, put on trains, put on other things. Think of this. In history, until the 1840s, the entire world moved at the speed of a person or a horse walking. Because that's the way it was. And then with the invention of the steam engine, which was put on boats and trains and eventually cars, we started moving around fast. Chicago became a center of trains in addition to water transportation. By 1837, we incorporated as a city. 1837, Chicago incorporated. We had in Chicago 600 people in 1837. By the year 1850, Chicago had 50,000 people. And between the year 1850 and the turn of the 20th century, 50 years later, Chicago grew from 30,000 people to 3 million people. It was the fastest growing city in the history of the earth. And today our population within the city limits is about 2.7, 2.8 million people. The cosmopolitan area has about 12 million people. This is the 25th largest metropolitan area in the world. So we're pretty proud of that. Kind of fun, yes.
So if there was no Indians, then none of this would be here.
If there hadn't been the Indians, we probably wouldn't be here. That's exactly right. Exactly right. Hey, you know what today is? It's the anniversary of?
What?
Lewis and Clark left Illinois on their voyage of discovery out to the West Coast on this day, I think in 1803. Does that sound about right to you guys? Yeah, the voyage of discovery. They actually left from Illinois, right across from St. Louis, so they started here in Illinois. So Chicago has today this huge population. Today, Chicago, interestingly enough, has the largest Polish population outside of the city of Warsaw. Who's Polish? You Polish back there, dear? All right. We also have the largest Greek population outside of the city of Athens. Does anybody have Greek population back here? Interesting. It is, I believe, the 8th largest German city in the world, and at one time, we were the largest Swedish city in the world. All right, here's my Swedes. You're Polish and Swedish.
Polish, Swedish, a lot of things from Europe, basically.
Good for you. Who's else? You guys Polish, Swedish?
Polish, Swedish.
Both Polish and Swedish? Cool. You know, it's funny. As a tour guide, I meet people from all over the world. And when you get somebody coming here from, say, Switzerland, they're Swiss. You get somebody coming from Amsterdam, they're pretty much Dutch. But here in America, we're the mutts of the world, aren't we? We're from every place. We're from all over the world. Every one of us has a story like that, don't you? You're from someplace else. Where are you from?
I was born in Germany, but...
Germany?
Yeah.
All right, so you got German parents, or you just come from Germany? You
I
live
was
there?
born in Germany.
Oh, cool. I was born in Germany. Do you guys know that? Do you speak German?
No.
Sprechen Sie Deutsch?
When I was little.
Yeah, you kind of forget that stuff, I know. Chicago is also the largest Czechoslovakian or Bohemian city. I myself am Austrian, Hungarian, German, and Swedish. My wife is Irish, Scottish, and Cherokee Indian. And my daughter just married a Mexican-Irish guy. That's
Nice.
America right there. Now listen, I know you guys are
Nice
going to have some
one.
food here. How long are you guys here, by the way? Just so I know. Let's talk about food for a second. Look at me, folks. Till Thursday? Oh, fantastic. Guys, I'm 60 years old. I've spent my entire life, listen to this, in the single-minded pursuit of nutritional overachievement. Which means I like to eat, although I've just recently lost about 45 pounds. I'm on the way down. Hallelujah for that, I know. You guys are young yet. You're going to realize that you spend your whole life building up this temple, and at one point in your life, you got to start knocking it down again because you want to live a nice, long life. What kind of food have you had in Chicago? Have you had deep dish pizza yet? Giordano's? That's kind of a interesting choice, but if you ever come back to Chicago, go to Pizzeria Uno's or Pizzeria Due's. That's where they invented deep dish pizza. Giordano's is a great pizza, but it's a copy of the original. How many of you had a Chicago hot dog? A Chicago hot dog is a great place. When you go over to the Hard Rock Cafe here, you're going to be able to, if you want to, you're getting lunch at Hard Rock, right? If you ever come back there, go to Portillo's. They have a great Chicago hot dog. A Chicago hot dog, just so you know, a kosher hot dog on a poppy seed bun with mustard, onions, and relish, a hot chili pepper stuck in each end, a slice of tomato, and a dash of celery salt. Ooh, is this good. Now, the other sandwich you have to try in Chicago, we invented them here, is the gyros sandwich. How many have had a gyros sandwich? Or as you call them, a gyro sandwich. Invented here in Chicago. Not the original gyros. That was, of course, invented in Greece, where they took lamb and sliced it up. But the idea of taking mixed lamb and beef and pork and putting it into that, like, giant bologna tube and roasting it and cutting it off, that was invented here in Chicago. But my personal favorite sandwich, if you ever get a chance to try it, is the Italian beef sandwich. Who's had an Italian beef sandwich? Ah, lady after my own heart. Aren't they good? They take this big roast beef, they season it with Italian seasoning, then they roast it slow, then they slice the meat and put the meat back in the juice. And when you order a sandwich, they cut some French bread, they take the meat right out of the juice, then they dip the sandwich in the gravy, and then they put either sweet peppers or hot giardiniera on this. You don't eat this sandwich, you go to war with this sandwich. Because it's going to fight you for about 2 days. And you got to learn to eat this with the Chicago crouch, which means you got to bend over like this, because it's going to drip down to your elbows. It's fantastic.
Only had New York hot dogs.
Over the sink, right? Yeah, it's a lot of people eat over the sink like that, I know. Sadly. I don't know, we're waiting for the police to show up here, which is going to be forever, I'm afraid. Unfortunately, we have no choice, folks. When there's an accident, she's doing exactly what she has to do, and there's no way around it, aggravating as it might be. We're going to have to kind of speed things up a little, depending on when she comes back here. Because we want to take you to see Obama's house if we can do it. We're going to do our best to do that. And then we want to take you to Millennium Park. What else are you doing while you're here? So I don't duplicate it. You left me here yesterday. Okay?